Just thought I'd chat about the weather for the Canungra Cup, which started yesterday. Today's Sunday, and I would say La Nina is here. You can see all the storm activity moving across Australia, all the surface moisture coming from the tropics, and yeah, it's quite muggy outside today. Dew points of around 20 degrees in Brisbane, down here in the southeast corner of Queensland, not far from the Canungra Cup. So this morning we've got some storms developing to the north, expecting them to move in this afternoon. So the task was canned early. I'll have a look at the water vapour in a minute, but first, yesterday's rainfall. So a good soaking, pretty heavy falls later in the afternoon, and today not quite yet, but getting there. So a lot of it's to do with the surface moisture, but there's also some upper dynamics that takes place in the mid-latitudes. So all these little swirly things, these upper troughs, enhance the instability ahead of them, and that brings out any moisture if there is any, and you've got enhanced likelihood of storms. So if you look at the forecast, if you go to forecasts, districts, and southeast coast, you can see talking about these upper level troughs enhancing the instability and supporting severe thunderstorms. So that factor stays with us pretty much all week. And it's also talking about the moist, unstable air ahead of the trough. So this morning, if we look at let me first show you the climate. So it's been going on about this. This is what we can expect in the next few months, a wetter few months, because we have a La Nina. And the balloon sounding this morning. For Brisbane, we've got the westerly winds right up through the atmosphere with that trough and lots of instability and moisture. And it's looking pretty cloudy outside. I don't have my photos open this time. That's all good. So halfway up in the atmosphere at 500 hectopascals, we've got all this cold air. So it's like a planetary sea breeze that blows around us. So basically, when it's blowing from the tropics, it's a destabilizing effect, and that's why we've got the surface low to the right of the cold air. And when it's blowing from the poles, it's a stabilizing effect, which helps build this high pressure system. So this basically stays with us most of the week. So they tend to move from west to east, but this one ain't moving very fast. It knows the Canungra Cup's on. It wants to green up the place for us. And when it finally moves through New South Wales, another one comes to fill its place. So basically, it's mostly, later in the week it's more westerly, but it's mostly a northwesterly flow in the upper atmosphere, which is destabilizing influence over the Canungra area. And if we go down to look at 900 hectopascals, which is the gradient level, it shows us what's going on with the moisture. So more temperature in the north, higher temperatures support exponentially more water vapour in the atmosphere, so that provides fuel for storms. The relative humidity can be high down here, but the cold air can't support as much water. So lots of moisture around today. As we move into tomorrow, the storms are expected to clear out because this moisture through the day gets pushed out by westerlies. On Tuesday, we've got some onshore flow in the morning, so if we're really quick, we might get an early task, but that's providing lots of fuel with the moisture for afternoon storms. Wednesday, we've got continued northerly winds keeping that moisture and keeping that fuel. But on Thursday, the low pressure system to the south is pushing the moisture out with the westerlies again. So we might actually have some better conditions later in the week. So if we look at the soundings, you can see they're pretty unstable still, but there's just not enough moisture to support storms. So the main thing then becomes whether there's too much wind, whereas earlier in the week, lots of moisture, clouds, and we'll have shower activity depending on the triggers and what's going on. So the ingredients for storms are moisture, instability, which we have all week, and triggers, which can be convergences, sea breeze, topography, other storms and outflows, and sometimes in the upper atmosphere it's just so unstable it sort of goes by itself. So let's go back to the forecast. Brisbane, basically storms easing tomorrow, so some residual moisture in the morning, but then clearing out. Light winds in Brisbane because the westerlies often aren't that effective on the coast if they're not so strong. The sea breeze might push some moisture in on the fringes anyway. More moisture on Tuesday with that easterly winds early, so might get an early task in Wednesday, another storm, and then drier later in the week. And just to support that theory of things being more unstable on the other side of the trough, so here we're looking at pretty unstable, whereas the other side, where air is flowing from the poles, got a much warmer, drier air mass above. And finally, let's look at the winds through the week. So airgram showing pretty strong winds today. Possibly you could have flown Tambo, but not very pleasant given that it's blowing you into the terrain and the big venturis and lots of moisture. Not going to last for long anyway. Tomorrow, dry air mass moving in. Might be possible to fly depending if it's windy, but there's a fair bit of wind around and the site's not really best. You're sort of pinned against the coast. And Beachmont possible, but really a lot of moisture. It's probably going to be cloudy and then it's probably just going to rain. More moisture from the north on Wednesday, I should say. I was talking about Tuesday before. And then drier later in the week. So looking at the winds in 3 dimensions gives you an idea, because just at the surface it depends on daytime heating mixing the air mass or nighttime heating decoupling the surface from the winds above. But it looks like at this stage Saturday is going to be fairly windy, but Friday not too bad, and Thursday a touch windier, but we'll keep an eye as we get closer to the time.